I am not calling for violence, and everyone knows it. I'm trying to expose it, but I'm...
Well, that's why what Sheriff Mack is doing is so important. And I know you know him and interview him. I was one of the first ones to interview him back when he was a sheriff and was fighting the good fight. And it's very important here that, for instance, we talked about the Hage case. One of the reasons why the Hages were successful is that they had worked with and had educated Sheriff DeMaio of Nye County and informed him. He wasn't at first sure how to take on the federal government, the BLM, the Park Service, etc. But he got up to speed on this. And because of that, he told the feds, look, after they rustled the cattle and whatnot, he says, look, you're not going to come in and do that in my county. He didn't get up there and threaten them and beat his chest or anything. He's a very down-to-earth guy. He said, look, you have to obey the law like everybody else. I'm the sheriff here. If you have a court order, bring me the court order. And if you have a writ of execution, bring it to me. Me and my guys will take care of it. That's how it works. That's the law. You guys have to obey the law. We have to obey the law. And if Sheriff Gillespie had done this in Clark County, we wouldn't have had the near showdown that we did there. If he had stood up and done what he was supposed to do, and that's what Sheriff Mack is educating so many of these sheriffs around the country. It isn't as the left likes to portray it, as the establishment media tries to portray it, that these are a bunch of Yahoo sheriffs that are anxious to test their adrenaline, their testosterone against the federal agencies. No, they're just saying, look, we're for the rule of law. We are the law enforcement here in the county. When you come out here and operate in our area, we don't want our citizens hurt. We don't want violence. We know how to handle it. And that's, of course, the way it worked in Waco. The sheriff there never had any problem with David Koresh and with those people. He went out there. He brought those people into town or into jail a few times. Never had any problems.
He openly said, hey, David jogs into town every day. They run an auto parts place. You just go put the handcuffs on him. I've done it before. But no, they wanted a big armed showdown.
That's what Americans need to realize, that the people that are really bringing on the violence are those who, for instance, the Center for Biological Diversity and the National Wildlife Federation, who are trying to egg on the BLM and whatnot. Come on, you guys, show us that you got some guts. Get out there and get these guys. Don't let these ranchers, these welfare ranchers, run roughshod over you. And so they're the ones that are urging the violence, that are urging the
No, they really are the bad guys. And I wanted to briefly talk about that. You've been to dozens of global UN meetings, and what they do this locally as well. They hire Agenda 21 people, AstroTurf. They have accredited NGOs that are funded by Soros Group, the State Department, and others. They then go out and agitate and act like they're citizens. They'll fund a group to move into your town. They'll get federal grants. They'll have all the money, and they'll end up running for mayor and being your mayor. They'll end up taking over the water commission because they're seizing your infrastructure. Then 5 years later, they'll turn around and sell your water off for 1 cent on the dollar to some multinational and leave, and the mayor's gone. And then the mayor gets a $1 million contract with the energy company out of the Netherlands. I'm talking about a real case outside Austin. These are really just wicked corporations using government to set land and resources off use so they can come in a few years later and use it.
And they have their NGOs, their environmental NGOs. Every county, every state, usually they have something like Friends in them. Friends of the Wasatch, Friends of the Rio Grande, Friends of the Snake River, Friends of the Columbia, and they're all being funded by the big foundations and the big corporations to put a veneer of eco-friendly concern on an issue. When really it's all about control and taking away property rights. And if, as Madison, Jefferson, Washington, all of them said, if you don't have property rights, you don't have any other rights, because without your property, you can't do anything. You're beholden to government for everything.